Hello and welcome to another edition of Monday BJJ with me, your host, Brian. In this episode, I start off rolling against a brown belt, and you can see he immediately just goes for the sweep, and after sitting down and trying to give me the nice ability to do what I want to do, he starts doing this Toreando pass. And the beautiful thing I love about this is the way he goes so hard to one side, and then as soon as I make the adjustment to try to go back the other way, you see him just throw me in the other direction. And here he jumps forward and to the side to try to pull me into his back mount, and I barely keep him from getting his hook in. Here he's going for a choke with my opposite lapel, so I'm trying to clear his elbow and move my head back so that I can dive out the back in a way. But here he grabs my lapel again and goes for kind of a bread cutter choke. And I'm pretty sure he chokes me, or we're about to run into these other guys, and so he kind of stops me short of doing that. Adjustments here that could have been better for me would have been if I had put my bottom hand that I'm framing with more in line with his shoulder. I think I could have done a better job of pushing away. I saw a video on that one time where somebody was talking about really getting that arm higher up so that your forearm is more in their face. Similar to the wrestling cross face, the more you get that forearm, the blade of the forearm across their face, the more uncomfortable it makes it for them. So here we reset, and he's got the butterfly situation again, so I try to step back and out, and I don't clear my upper body grips, so I just kind of wind up falling into his guard, which is always a dangerous place to be against a jiu-jitsu player. So here I'm trying to stand up and break his grips, but he comes underneath me and grabs my ankle. I try to kick my legs over, but he's got my arm actually in an omoplata. So he finishes the omoplata, and then we join our next match in progress. My friend started on the bottom, and so I'm kind of on top of him, but he's already working his way out into a north-south position, and he pretty much just starts to sit up from here. I'm trying to fight for some lapels underneath, maybe do some sort of choke from there or a guillotine, but I'm not quite in the right spots, and so he starts to come up on me, so I back up and out and then try to climb back over the top, and I clear one leg, but the other leg winds up in his half guard. So we're kind of stuck here for a little bit, but everybody seems to have stepped up the progress on their leg lock game. This is also old footage from back in April, I think. So he just decides to clear my leg, come back out, take a low single. I keep trying to just push into him and pressure him over, but he's got good enough angles on me that I can't make it happen. So I go in for that guillotine again, but again, the angles are wrong. So he just kind of dives over my arm and wiggles his way into mount here. So from here, I'm in a pretty bad spot. He's playing some games, chatting to some people around me while he's getting me. Somebody's messing with his lapel. So he's, I think he's maybe even getting his own lapel out and trying to feed it around and get a choke on me with it. So we sit here for a while. I try to turn to my side to relieve some of the pressure of just being in bottom mount. He flips around to try to take my back, so I roll to the other side. This is the point in my training where I had really adopted sort of the Britt Mickelson defensive style of jiu-jitsu. And so pretty much all I was doing on bottom was adopting these defensive postures. And we'll come back to why that's important in a future video, but probably also talking about how I learned to mix that in a little more with trying to retain guard and being more active on the bottom as well. The defensive positions are good, but if you don't wind up mixing in some more active bottom position, you also just don't accomplish very much with them. So it's one of those things that it's a very, very good tool to have in your tool belt, but you need to know when it's appropriate to use it and when it's not. So here we've rolled all the way around to where he's just about got me in an arm bar, or I'm just about to escape out of the back, and you don't know which. So here's another blue belt that I was rolling with, and he's a big guy, and so he goes for kind of the guard pull or tomonage, and I step out and around it a little bit, but he's still doing a really good job of keeping me in tight to his legs and being up underneath me. And that's kind of the problem with the butterfly position for the top guy, is the geometry is not really all that favorable, for me at least. I think I've got not super long legs, so here he's feeding that leg up till he can get it over, and then he can push me over. I do wind up in guard, so it's not like the worst thing in the world. This is also before I developed a decent closed guard game, so he's working on breaking my guard open, and I'm just kind of sitting here. I'm not applying much pressure. I do try to swing a little bit there, I think, to set up something, because I can feel he's about to break my guard open, but I get a little bit of a sweep kind of in the pass. Here he's turning back into me. I don't know if my leg is still trapped in that half guard or not. It looks like we're just kind of in a regular mount position. So here I'm fighting for lapels. I really like bread cutter chokes from the top. He rolls me over again. We're kind of concerned about the other people that are right here next to us. So I keep going for this right side sleeve and lapel. If I can sweep him that way. Unfortunately, that'll be right into the wall, but better than rolling into some other people and maybe getting hurt that way. So the wall's at least got padding on it. Most people's heads don't have padding on them. So we're doing some really aggressive grip fighting. My guard's already open, so again, not doing a good job of pressuring with the guard here at this point. I try to reclose it here. I kind of lazily fighting for grips. Like I said, this is before I developed a much more active style. And here I think maybe I can just go for a back take, but I'm just so far away and out to the side that I miss my opportunity. So he gets all the way into side control here, and my arm is kind of far out, so he's able to take it out there and start setting up this Americana and taps me with it. So we reset back on our knees. He goes into this sort of seated posture, and I'm going to attempt sort of an X pass, and I decide not to apparently and just crawl up on top of him, and that's the end of that round. Here's another blue belt. This guy's really, really long and lanky, as opposed to the short and, well, he's one of these short, but the other guy was much more stocky. And so here I kind of just went straight up the middle of his guard and trying to apply some pressure with my knee. Or maybe I guess maybe I did get it out and around him, but it wasn't like clear. Like he had a frame in there that prevented the leg from just swinging over into full mount. And he likes to do leg locking stuff too. So you miss some of this in here. So he's getting his legs up underneath me and spreading me out. There we go, back to the action. And so I'm trying to come out and do a Kesa Katami, but he sneaks out the back because I don't get a good grip on his head. And so now, again, here you can see I'm just basically in the defensive posture, and I'm doing an okay job of preventing that hook from coming in, but all he has to do is really pull me back until he can drop at least one of them in, and then I'm fighting the other one out, trying to turn away so I can escape. But he just kind of locks everything up around my shoulders, and so then I think, well, maybe I can sneak out the back so you can see my feet. I'm just kind of working around a little bit to see if I can sneak my way out. He comes over the top of my arm, very much looking for an arm bar here, and he's got it locked up really, really tight, so there's not a lot I can do. It's just kind of a matter of time. So here I kind of sneak my head out, and like I'm thinking, well, maybe I can come around, but he's also just got such a good grip on my arm that it prevents me from really coming out on top of him. And then the second that he lets go, he decides to go back into guard, snaps me up, locks up a really good triangle. I'm pretty sure I'm turning the wrong direction to try to beat this triangle, so he cinches it up and taps me out with it. Like I said, he's really long and lanky, so the triangles work pretty darn well for him, being able to get those arms up or legs up in there around your head. And he does, he does the other things good too. He brings his hips up to your shoulders to lock up the triangle. So here, again, he's using his long legs. I try to do a leg drag, but I don't clear the leg, so he's still got my leg kind of wrapped up, and he's looking to take that ankle away from me. So he gets it up off the floor. That allows him to get around underneath it maybe. And he locks me up somehow. So, or maybe I just freaked out. I worry a lot of times when people grab my legs, because there's quite a few people in our gym that have started doing leg locks, but not enough that I really feel super comfortable with it. I tried to do the leg drag thing again. He's trying to sweep me with kind of that just entangled legs setup, but doesn't quite knock me over. So from here I moved to another white belt, a friend of mine who's pretty new to jiu-jitsu at this point. He's been training for quite a while now in the present day, but this footage is old. So here we're just starting on our legs, and I get to try to do the butterfly sweep thing, but I don't try butterfly grips quite as often, so I don't quite dump him over. But I do keep some hooks underneath. We're kind of in a half guard. I'm going for a back take, but his other leg is a little bit too far underneath him. So as I come up, he just circles around me, and I'm able to clear my leg here, I think, right into a mount. I start to clear into a mount, and I overbalance, and he winds up rolling me over. So now we're just kind of in guard. And so, no, he clears around to side control. I've forgotten a lot of how this went. So he tries to go straight over the top to mount. I don't remember if that's how it winds up working or not. He's fighting my hands down. I'm trying to set up for another sweep. And we align a little much, and so I'm able to roll him over. And now he's trying to set up a sweep, so he grabs the grips that he wants. He's trying to lean me over that way. He's not sure exactly what he wants, so he's trying some different things. We're both pretty tired at this point. From here, I'm going with another brown belt friend of mine. This was actually the guy that taught me a lot of the defensive posturing things, but he's been doing it for obviously a lot longer than I have. So here he ties up my leg with his legs, and then he's working lapel grip and a near side sleeve grip. And it's just really interesting to watch how he can both pull me in and push me away with those entangled legs things that he's doing. So anyways, and then he comes out here at the back, and my leg's very exposed. If he wants to destroy my leg, he can, and instead he just flips me around and takes my back, which is probably equally cool. So he kind of lets me go into that defensive posture, and then he says something to me about how he regrets that he taught me that stuff, because now it's more annoying for him when he tries to take my back if I just go to my side and I don't give him as much stuff. So he flips over to the other side, and I try to sit up, which is probably not a good idea. I'm definitely still not as practiced with this. I think they call it the panda position. But he's just kind of probing my position to see where I'm open, where I'm not. Pretty sure I let his arm come in, which is not one of the things you're supposed to do. But trying to maybe sneak out the back. I drop back into the side position here, and that basically takes away the arm that he's trying to choke with. So here I turn back into him. I'm looking for some way to get my legs back into guard. So you can see it. By the time I get to later in the night, I am working on retaining guard. It's occurred to me that it's, I've been spending rounds of pretty much doing nothing. Here I kind of try to sweep him and sit up into him, but his legs are, again, entangled with me. And so he's kind of trying to do the same thing here, see if he can flip my leg over, take my back, sweep me over, something like that. He hides my foot just behind his gi or something. And then, anyways, winds up coming up to the side again. I sit up again, try to roll. I started this idea of trying to roll out. It is supposed to be one of the escapes that you can do from kind of that position, but I've never been able to do it correctly. My lower back maybe doesn't have the flexibility for it. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's wrong with me, lack of experience and stuff. So anyways, here he's kind of stacked up, but he's not stacked up because he's also just kind of has the ability to roll around like that. I think that was an arm bar maybe. So he was stacked up on my arm. So here I'm slowly moving into him again, which is not very smart. So he grabs my leg, pulls it back up on top of him, kind of starts to roll around and roll out. My legs are stretched out again, which is kind of, I guess, one of the features of that leg entanglement system is, you're basically putting one leg on your hips and one leg on your groin, or one leg on your shoulder, one leg on your hips and one leg on your shoulder. And that gives you a huge amount of space to stretch the other person out on, versus not a lot of space for them. So here I'm trying to set up an arm bar, and he's just kind of, I think, coaching me through it. Because you can tell, I have a lot of trouble sometimes retaining arm bars, and I think I mentioned that to him. And so he was kind of telling me about where you want the foot placement to be to keep the person from rolling out of it. Because him especially is someone who is very hard for me to even just set up an arm bar. A lot of people I can kind of set up an arm bar on, and then they might get it out after that. But he would be out before I even had it set up. So I knew that my setup was not very good since I wasn't finishing very often, but I wasn't sure exactly what I was doing wrong. So he kind of helped me walk through some of that. And so then now he's demonstrating armbar stuff on me, and does some sort of weird foot lock on me, but fortunately doesn't destroy my foot. Lets me come back on top of him. And yeah, he's a really good training partner, just generally letting me try stuff, teaching me things. This is an interesting, drops me back kind of into a side control thing, so call that a round. Here's another tallish blue belt. He's a little bit bigger than me, I think, but we're pretty close to the same size, I think. He is definitely quite a bit more experienced than me. I've always had a tough time with him. So here I'm, in that, there's a triangle probably that happens there. We're in really low, wrestling stances here. And so for some reason, I think maybe I can do a turn throw on him, because he kind of starts to straighten up a little bit here. At least I do. I start to straighten up. And so I get a collar, and I've got sort of a sleeve. I'm pulling, pushing a little bit, and then I pull and turn, and I give him a single leg instead. So he takes me backwards with the single leg, drops me on my butt, and proceeds to climb out of my guard, and really starts to pressure into me and push me across the mat. And we wind up a little ways across the mat. Then he feeds a lapel out, and I think he may already have a choke at this point, but he starts to feed this lapel around to just really solidify. Yeah, I start to turn, and so he goes one way and then feeds it the other way, and then turns back in the opposite direction, and the choke gets tighter and tighter, and so I have to tap. a very interesting technique that the lapel can go to basically either side and make it a choke. So here again, I kind of just walk into the guard. You can tell there have been a lot of rounds this evening, so getting towards the end here, being a little more lazy with the guard passing, letting myself completely fall into somebody's guard before I attempt the pass. Just fighting for grips and trying to see, what can happen. So I stand up. He's got really good grips on my upper body, so I can't posture up too well. He tries to lock in on my arm, maybe get an omoplata. I am able to quickly flip over and come out to the side, wind up in side control. I go into knee on belly and decide to just kind of remain here for the rest of the round since there's not much time left. Just working on a little bit of position control at the end here. So anyways, if you like what you've seen, please like the video and subscribe. And I will hopefully see you guys next time. Keep training.